Hello everyone. In this tutorial, we will be discussing about the HP new Idle on-demand API. In this tutorial, we will focus mainly on three API. First, Find Similar API. Second, OCR Document API. And lastly, Sentiment Analysis API. I will show how to use these API in Python language and implement simple functions using this in Python. So, let's get started. Before we move further and discuss more on programming side of Idle API, I believe it's a good idea to take a small tour of HP Idle on Demand. For those who have already signed up for an Idle account, may skip this and can directly jump to programming in Idle API. Whenever you first visit the Idle web page, you are required to sign up. Sign up button is located at top right. It will ask you to fill few details. Okay, once sign up is done, next, you will log in by clicking on Login button. Since I already signed up, I will directly jump to login. There are various login options for you, like Google, Yahoo, Facebook, Twitter. I have my Google account linked with Idle, so I will click on Google and will proceed to next. Once you log into your account, you should click on Get an API key. You need this API key for your account. It's a token which is required while calling any API. You can manage your account by clicking on Account tab at top right. You can see various options. You can manage your API key, check your usage for any particular API key, and many more. Let's try one of them. Okay, let's click on Create and manage your own text indexes. Wait, meanwhile, it gets loaded. Okay, as you can see, I have one text index, which I created, named as Cancer Prevention. You can get further details on your particular text index by clicking against the name of your text index. Lastly, now, we will have a quick look at API page before moving on to programming for Idle API. Okay, so, from this API page, we can see all the APIs available in Idle. There are a lot of useful APIs. Let's examine one of these API. Let's go to OCR Document API. This is an overview page of OCR API, which is giving us all the necessary information about this API. Now, let's move to Request tab. This page is giving us the information which we need to send during our POST REST call while calling this API. Remember, this is the URL which we need to pass to call this API. You can choose either of the asynchronous or synchronous, depending on your application. Now, let's move to Response tab. As you can see, the response, which we get from this API, will be our nice formatted frame JSON. You can see the exact structure by scrolling down. So, this winds up our small tour of Idle on Demand API. Now, we will look into the programming aspect of Idle API. So, let's go ahead. Okay. So let's start our Python code. In this Python coding part, we will be tackling the following problems, one by one. First, we will execute a Find Similar Idle on Demand API call from Wikipedia on the phrase Hello World, and will display the output text from the Wikipedia article. Second, we will write Python code that will execute an OCR Document API call for the URL, and later for image file, and will display the extracted text from the image. Lastly, we will write Python script to execute a Sentiment Analysis API call, with the text from the Hello World response which we have computed above, and will display the sentiment score along with the sentiment rating, positive, negative, or neutral. So, before starting our Python programming, you need to install requests package in Python. I am currently showing the documentation page and the URL of requests bundle. It's better if you first install it and then begin next slide. Okay, once requests package is installed, we can go ahead in our code. You can see, I have defined a common URL, with one field left as blank, inside curly braces. This value will get filled during runtime. Next, I have initialized API to my API key. Inside this, you should put your API key of idle account, which has already been discussed in our tour to idle part of this video. Now, let's look at our post requests method. It takes 3 arguments. First one is function, which is the name of the called API. It is this value, which will get filled in our common URL. For instance, function value for find similar is find similar, and for OCR document is OCR document. Second parameter is data. This includes all additional parameters required for calling any particular API. Third parameter passed to this function is files. Files parameter is included whenever we send any file to an API. Inside this function, we have added the key value pair of API key in data variable, with key as API and value as API key of idle. This is necessary and will always be there whenever an API is called. In this line we are now setting URL value, by calling inbuilt method, format, in Python. This is done to assign the value of our function variable to the empty space in our URL, inside curly braces. We have assigned a new URL to a new variable named call URL. Next, we are calling post, a REST method, which is there as part of package request, by passing the appropriate parameters. I hope till now everything seems simple. Let's move on. Okay, so till now we have covered the general part for all API. Now, let's talk about one API at a time. Our first goal here is to execute a find similar idle on-demand API call from Wikipedia on the phrase hello world and display the text from the Wikipedia article. Find similar API is helpful in finding documents that are conceptually similar to your text or a document. The find similar API returns documents in the idle on-demand databases that are similar to text or a document that you provide. You can either submit text, an index reference, a file, an object store reference, or a URL. I have talked about index reference and object store reference in my another video on index in HP idle. In this tutorial, let's focus mainly on text and file. Let's look at find similar method. Here we are passing only one additional parameter with key as text and value as hello world. Remember, since Wiki English is default attribute in indexes, we are not sending it. If you want to search in some other indexes, you should send this as parameter inside data field, by wrapping into JSON document. Here we have called post requests method, by sending the parameters, find similar as string, and data variable. It is important to note here, that since we are not using file in this example, we are not sending file, as parameter. Post requests returns an array of JSON documents. You can print each document by traversing the entire loop, and printing each document, one by one. These resultant documents are the ones, which are conceptually similar to hello world. Let's see main function. Inside main, we are calling find similar function. So the stack will be, first main, then find similar and after that post requests. Okay, now let's run this program and see the output. Okay, let's run this program. This will take some time. So, here is the output for this code. As you have observed, the first thing about this output is that it is in JSON format, which is expected. Secondly, it is not showing every information. It is showing only the basic information, which is the default parameter. Let's say, we want to see all information, then we have to send one more parameter. Let's make the change in our code again. Okay, now I am sending one more value of print equals to all. Perfect. Let's now run our code again. So, here is our output, when we provide, print all, key value pair. As you can see now we are receiving a lot of information, including text from the web page. We will be using this text, for sentiment analysis, which is our next API call. So, let's move ahead to execute an OCR document API call, for the URL and later for an image file, and display the extracted text from the image. OCR document API extracts the text from an image. Let's look at OCR document method. First, let's see example, when we are using URL. Here we are passing 2 additional parameter with keys as mode and URL, and values as document photo and URL address respectively. It is important to note here, that since we are not using file in this example, we are not sending file, as parameter to post requests method. Okay, now let's see another example of OCR in which we are using file. Here we are passing only one additional parameter with key as mode and value as document photo. In addition to this, we are also sending file parameter to post requests method. We provided the file name and opened it in reading binary mode. Please note, we are using the JSON structure in file option also. Here the call stack is, first main, then OCR document and after that post requests. Okay, now let's run this program and see the output. This is the hello world image, from which we are extracting text using OCR document call. Since this image is a document image, that is the reason why I used mode value as document underscore photo inside our data field. Now, let's see its output. Wait, meanwhile, it gets its output. Okay, so here you go. The extracted text from this image matches perfectly. We can see, public static void main, hello world, system.out.println etc. Great. Okay, now let's move ahead to our last API, which is, sentiment analysis API. Let's move on. Okay, so this is our last goal here, which is to execute a sentiment analysis API call with the text from the hello world response which we have computed above, and will display the sentiment score along with the sentiment rating, positive, negative, or neutral. Analyze Sentiments API analyzes text for positive and negative sentiments. In this goal, first we need to call find similar and then, we will use analyze sentiments on any of the document returned from find similar method. In this, I randomly picked up second element, if the number of documents returned is greater than 1, else if number of documents returned is 1, I will examine first element, and if no document is returned from find similar, then we will print sorry. Now, let's look at analyze sentiments method. Here, first we have called find similar method with text as hello world. The returned output is stored in variable result. Then we check whether result is empty or not. We now assign document key value to docs variable. We then check whether docs is empty or not. If docs variable is empty, we have printed sorry message and exited our program. Here, we have analyzed the length of docs and appropriately sets value to our answer variable. Okay, now our data is ready. Here we are passing two additional parameter with keys as language and URL, and values as eng and URL address returned, from answer variables reference value respectively. It is important to note here, we can also send content of URL by using key as text and value as content from find similar method. Here we have called post requests method, by sending the parameters, analyze sentiment as string, and data variable. It is important to note here, that since we are not using file in this example, we are not sending file, as parameter. Post requests returns an array of JSON documents. Analyze sentiments API, actually returns its result for all lines separately. The final result is categorically divided into positive, negative and neutral, returning mean score and sentiment for every line in content. At the same time, it also returns aggregate of sentiments and mean score. Here we are printing only aggregate result. Let's see main function. Inside main, we are calling analyze sentiments method. Analyze sentiment further calls find similar method. So the stack will be, first main, then analyze sentiments. After that find similar and after that post requests. Finally again post requests, but this post requests was called from analyze sentiments. Okay, this is getting a bit longer. Now let's run this program and see the output. Congratulations. I hope you must have enjoyed this video tutorial, which is termed as Hello World for HP Idle API. For more information, you can always go to API page, and can explore more from there. Also, later if you have any doubts, post on discussion forums. My personal experience at discussion forum at HP Idle is pretty good. The reply is also pretty fast. Congratulations again for completing this video tutorial. Thanks for watching.